Dieter Schwarz is considered to be one of the most successful CEOs in German history. He is the CEO of Schwarz Group, a company for discount shopping which was founded by his father, who was also a successful businessman. So, who is Dieter Schwarz, and what kind of a lifestyle does he have? The German media refers to Dieter Schwarz as a phantom, despite the fact that he's the 36th richest person on the planet. This is due to the fact that Dieter Schwarz is notoriously private. The man, who's now 82 years old, is the chief executive officer and the principal shareholder of the Schwarz Group, which is the fourth largest retail chain in the world. Mr. Schwarz is currently serving as both the CEO and chairman of the enormous firm that's in charge of the major grocery brands Lidl and Kaufland. In spite of his incredible wealth and high-profile professions, Mr. Schwarz is notorious for his extreme reclusiveness, which means that almost little is known about his personal life. Actually, only 2 pictures, one of which is black and white, have ever been found of him, and neither of them is particularly clear. But how did Dieter Schwarz get to be so rich? In 1963, Mr. Schwarz wedded Franziska Weipert, and in 1973, he joined his father's business and founded the first Lidl shop, which was based on the success of Aldi supermarkets. Lidl shops are known for their low prices and wide selection of products. However, his father passed away, so in 1977, he took over as CEO of the firm and supervised its rapid rise to fame as well as its successful expansion around the globe. But despite the fact that he is well ensconced in Germany, on the opposite side of the planet, he is to blame for one of the most disastrous retail disasters in the history of Australia. But how do you think his company performed in Australia? For a number of years, people have been speculating wildly about the possibility that the German retailer Kaufland may one day join the Australian market. And in November 2016, the parent company of Kaufland applied for Kaufland trademarks in Australia, all but confirming the business's intentions to expand into that market. It was not until March 2017 that it launched its website for the Australian market, and in October of the same year, it purchased its first site in South Australia for around $25 million. Since the beginning of 2018, the company has now become very proactive in recruiting new staff and putting up plans for opening new sites around Australia. After that, in 2019, it started creating a distribution center in Victoria that would cost $450 million, and it purchased more premises all around the nation. But by the year 2020, such noble goals were reduced to ashes since the firm abandoned its operation in Australia entirely, laying off 200 Australian staff members in the process and leaving them without jobs. According to news.com.au, the corporation may have suffered a loss of up to $1 billion as a direct result of the investments it made in Australia, of which up to $500 million had already been spent. Because the business only then published a brief statement announcing the unexpected withdrawal, there's currently no explanation for the action that's been supplied. This lengthy and expensive drama has stunned many with inside knowledge and has caused numerous people in Australia to lose their jobs. In spite of the fact that Mr. Schwarz is one of the wealthiest persons in Germany and the world, he is notoriously private. In fact, his life and career were the subjects of a documentary that was produced in Germany in 2018 and titled Die Lidl Story. So, what did the documentary say about him? At the beginning of the documentary, it says he is a mystery. He keeps a low profile and he avoids any kind of exposure. Very few people in his inner circle have the courage to speak to the press, and very little information is known about him. The documentary also sheds light on some interesting and previously unknown details about Mr. Schwarz's life, such as the fact that he lived in the United States for a year as a teenager in the 1950s, or that he beat out the competition by selling goods out of tents shortly after the Berlin Wall came down in an effort to muscle in on the East German market. Both of these events occurred in an effort to capitalize on the newly opened market in East Germany. It is also said that he had a bitter rivalry with Audi's founding fathers Karl and Theo Albrecht, who mocked him by calling him Little Dieter Schwarz. It is said that he retaliated by recruiting Audi executive Klaus Gehrig, who is still employed by the Schwarz company today. And is that all about him? Well, there are a few urban legends regarding Mr. Schwarz that are addressed, including the notions that he likes to masquerade as a preacher in order to get into German churches. It's also rumored that his office has not been updated since the 1950s and that he works out to the music of ABBA. And by the way, surprisingly, it is rumored that Theo Albrecht, founder of Audi, and Richard Oetker, owner of food processing company Dr. Oetker, were two of the most well-known victims in a string of high-profile and often cruel kidnappings that occurred in Germany in the 1970s. The documentary also claims that Mr. Schwarz's family, which included Mr. Schwarz's two young children, were also subjected to threats, and as a direct consequence of these incidents, the young father has almost disappeared. Although not much has been published about Mr. Schwarz in the English-language media, the German press commonly refers to him as Das Ghost von Heilbronn, which literally translates to the Phantom of Heilbronn. Anyway, what do you love most about him? And should he be considered among the most successful businessmen out there?